I am Christina, 32 years old. I've been with Steve for 6 years already, and I love him dearly. I had always wanted to marry him and had proposed to him multiple times, but each time I was gently turned down. However, just recently, he finally accepted my fifth proposal. Nowadays, we are busy preparing for our wedding, thinking about wedding plans, and choosing outfits. But even amidst this busyness, every day is fun, and I find myself humming songs without even realizing it. Then one day, while feeling elated, a prenuptial agreement was placed in front of me. Steve had said that this contract was necessary as a condition for marriage. The content of the agreement was, what belongs to each of us before marriage stays as it is. We won't interfere with what the other inherits in the future. If the family situation changes, we'll update this document. I asked him while signing the document, "Steve, are you really concerned about this?" He replied, "Well, it's just for peace of mind, just in case. I think it's important for both of us." I was a bit puzzled as to why he was so insistent on this agreement, but I was more excited about the days ahead with him. However, a little incident was waiting. Steve has two somewhat eccentric older brothers. Before our wedding, when I met them, Steve advised, "Don't take what those two say at face value. They're a bit odd. Just take it lightly." In his words, my future parents-in-laws gave a slight, ambiguous smile. I hadn't seen them for a while, so I had almost forgotten about them. Then one day, while Steve was at work, I got an unexpected call from an unknown number. "You like fish, don't you, Chrissy?" I was completely taken aback by this sudden call from the brother-in-law I had only met once. "What? Who is this?" I recognized Chrissy as my nickname, but who was it? I was sure it wasn't a complete stranger since they called our home phone. As I was trying to figure it out, a voice came from the other end of the line. "Haha, you don't recognize me? I'm Steve's brother, your new elder brother." "What? Brother-in-law? Which one of?" "Steve has two brothers, but whose voice was this?" "It's been a while. What happened?" I asked, still somewhat confused. He said, "Actually, I went fishing today and caught a ton of salmon. I can't bring them all, but is it okay if I bring a few? Steve should love them with lemon." My heart raced with excitement at his words. I could make a dish that Steve loves. That's great news. Steve's working today, but I think he'll be really happy if he comes home to a delicious meal. I hung up the phone and hurried to the kitchen. "I have lemon and seasoning. All right, let's make a delicious dish." As I was prepping the ingredients in high spirits, the doorbell rang. It must be my brother-in-law. When I checked the monitor, I recognized the face. Steve has two brothers, and it was the younger of the two who had arrived. When I opened the door, he seemed a bit flustered. "Sorry, can I use the bathroom? Also, could you cover the taxi fare?" Saying this, he dashed into the house. "Huh? Oh, okay," I replied as I handed money to the taxi driver. When he came out of the bathroom, he took a deep breath of relief. "Thanks for that. You saved me. Also, could you lend me a bit of money?" he asked with a smile, extending his hand. "Huh? Money? For what?" I looked at him, slightly puzzled, and he chuckled. "The fish isn't free. How about $50? He casually mentioned. "What?" I couldn't help but let out a surprised exclamation, nearly dropping my wallet. I had assumed that the fish was just a shared treat. Of course, I felt bad taking it for free, and had planned to thank him with a slightly expensive snack. But $50? That was unexpected. Looking at my brother-in-law's expression, it seemed like this price was the norm for him. He had come all the way from far off to give it to me, and the fish was fresh. I didn't want to say anything that would ruin the mood. Reluctantly, with a slightly troubled look, I took $50 from my wallet and handed it to him. "Thanks. The fish is in the cooler. Oh, and I'm leaving the fishing gear here too. I've asked Steve to bring it home later. See you." With that, he quickly left. "Huh, you're leaving already?" "Wait, Kevin." Looking at the cooler and gear left at the entrance, I exclaimed in surprise. But he, waving a $50 bill, was gone in a flash. This is strange. leaving the gear here. We don't have space for it. Oh, I forgot about the taxi fare. I remembered the taxi fare I had fronted for him and was deep in thought with a troubled face. I feel awkward asking Steve to carry this. And about the taxi fare. How do I bring it up? What surprised me even more was the contents of the cooler. Gathering my composure, I intended to prepare a dish. When I opened it, I exclaimed, What's this? On top of a lot of ice was a small salmon, and there was only one. I was so shocked that I was paralyzed. Wait, what's this? Unable to believe it, I was lost for words. From the way my brother-in-law talked, I had been looking forward to getting a lot of fish. I had cut some lemon in excitement. Seeing the lemon I had cut with excitement, all I could do was sigh. Several months later, I visited a small cafe nearby. I have something to discuss with you, but don't tell my younger brother. The hasty call was from my husband's elder brother. His tone gave off an urgent vibe. Listen, there's something important I have to discuss, but I can't tell my brother or my parents. He emphasized that repeatedly. Although a bit anxious, the designated cafe had a cozy and bright atmosphere, and it was daytime, so I thought it'd be fine. Christina, over here. As soon as I opened the door, he called out loudly. Embarrassed by the stares from other customers, I quickly walked to his table, looking down. Look, you're blushing. Christina, you're really cute. Grinning, my brother-in-law made my cheeks turn even redder. Please, can you be a bit quieter? When I whispered this, he waved his hand saying, okay. Then, turning to the woman seated next to him, he introduced me. This is my new girlfriend. A stylishly dressed, beautiful woman stood up and looked at me. Just as I was about to greet her, she shouted in a low voice, "What's this about?" And the next moment, I felt a slap on my cheek. Stunned, I couldn't comprehend what had just happened. Did a stranger just slap me? Why? The furious woman in front of me shouted, "This is your new girlfriend? She's so annoying," and stormed out of the cafe. Wait, James, what kind of prank is this? My cheek hurts a bit. I was so shocked that my throat went dry. But my brother-in-law just casually said, "Actually, I had a fight with my girlfriend. I thought of replacing you as my new girlfriend and ending the relationship. Thanks to that, it's all over now," and he laughed. You're kidding, right? I never thought this would happen. I started to feel irritated by his nonchalant attitude. He waved his hand and said, "Well, these things happen. It's not a big deal. But this is the first time something like this has happened to me. How can I stay calm?" I raised my voice. Honestly, I was overwhelmed with anger, shock, and embarrassment. Then my brother-in-law said, "Don't be so mad. It's just a small thing." Everyone's surprised, but was it that shocking? Looking around, everyone was stealing glances at me. Feeling the gazes of the other customers, my cheeks burned with embarrassment. Out of embarrassment, I looked down. Taking the opportunity, my brother-in-law stood up with a smile and said, "See you later. Say hi to my brother for me," and left the store. Wait, I want to talk a bit more. I called out, but he was already out of sight, and my voice didn't reach him. I quickly stood up to chase after him, but the movement was halted by a staff member with a concerned look on their face. "I'm sorry, but can I have the check, please?" The staff said, handing me the check. The only thing that came to mind was, seriously. Recently, I've been having more issues with my in-laws, and I was thinking about keeping a distance from them in my heart. But with so many troubles in succession, I felt both helpless and angry. After sharing everything with my husband, we decided to ignore any contact from his brothers. If they needed anything, they would have to communicate through my husband, and after that, I decided to ignore the several messages I received. But it didn't last long, as there was a 60th birthday celebration for my in-laws, and I had to attend this heartwarming event. They have always been kind to me, and they weren't just important as my husband's parents, but also dear to me. Wow, it's spacious, and that detached room over there is lovely too. I heard my mother-in-law exclaim. Seeing her enjoy herself lifted my spirits. If I can choose a place for the celebration, I'd like this house. What the in-laws wanted was a traditional house that I recently inherited from my grandparents. That house is actually a 230-year-old traditional house that was relocated. It used to be lively when my grandparents lived there, I explained with nostalgia. My father-in-law also added, reminiscing, the first time I met my wife was also in such a traditional place. It turns out they met while touring old houses, enjoying tea together, and realized they were the same age. In fact, before my grandparents moved to a nursing home, this house was used as a traditional restaurant. Regretting not inviting them sooner, my mother-in-law comforted me, saying today was special and the place was perfect. At those words, my heart warmed a little. Seeing the house and garden, they were wandering around 2 hours before the party started. In the midst of this, the eldest brother came in noisily, showing slight dissatisfaction. Huh? What's this? Only Steve is here to greet us, and we're having lunch in such a quiet place? Surprising, the eldest brother exclaimed. Steve replied with a warm smile, this is a request from Mom and Dad. They wanted to spend family time in a cozy environment. And this lunch is a special version from a famous local shop. When Steve said that, I remembered how I had been looking forward to that lunch also. The second brother interjected with a concerned face. Even if it's special, lunch is still a lunch. Shouldn't we have ordered more luxurious food in such a beautiful house? Aren't you being too frugal, Steve? While it must have been expensive to rent the house, today was for my parents-in-laws, and I felt we should respect their wishes. Originally, I still haven't been reimbursed for the taxi fare when I was given just a small salmon, nor for the expenses at the shop where I had a commotion with his ex-girlfriend. But even after that, my eldest and second brothers continued to nag at Steve and me, occasionally cracking jokes. Through it all, Steve always maintained his usual calm and gentle demeanor. I really loved that about him. Amidst such a pleasant conversation, my eldest brother smiled and said, "Hey, I just thought of a good idea." I became a bit worried. His good ideas sometimes took unexpected turns. Steve looked at me with a slightly tense expression, possibly feeling the same way. After that, the eldest whispered something to the second brother, and they both started laughing with a gleam in their eyes. We're family, right? There's a way to make this special day even more special, the eldest said with a smile. Suddenly, the eldest brother looked at my husband and started speaking. Has this place already closed down? My husband replied gently with a surprised look. Yes, it has. Then my brothers-in-law approached us with excitement. Wait a second, are you implying that you're the breadwinner here? The second brother said with a smile, and the eldest exclaimed, owning such a wonderful place and a big house. You're really lucky. Wait, are you misunderstanding something? My husband tilted his head in confusion, but my brothers-in-law continued. You can't keep this wonderful place all to yourself, the second brother said in a playful tone. Share it with us, aren't we brothers? The eldest chimed in, grinning. I understood their intentions and came up with a little idea. What do you want? I asked with a laugh. They looked at me, eyes shining, probably thinking of our family assets. But I couldn't simply comply with their demands. After all, this house was inherited by me, and it's not my husband's. My husband has always been supportive, especially when inheritance matters arose. He often reminded me, if there's any problem, consult me. Remember to manage our prenuptial agreement properly. Thinking about his warmth and sincerity made my brother-in-law's attitude even more displeasing. The second eldest brother said, this place is in an absolutely perfect location, isn't it? Just a short walk and you can get anything you need. And this house, isn't it a bit too big? In an exaggerated manner. To which the eldest responded, maybe we should let our younger brother's family live here. If you don't agree, we don't have to meet anymore. Taking a deep breath, I calmly replied, it's fine. They were stunned, really? Can our younger brothers live here? I answered with a smile. Yes, of course. Not just for the second eldest brother, but you are also very welcome. I hope you all find the house to your liking. Here are the keys. When I handed over the keys, the expressions of the brothers-in-law instantly brightened up. Really? We're so grateful. Yes. Christina, thank you so much. The two of them happily wandered around the house, looking around. On the other hand, my husband spoke with a slightly worried look on his face. Are you sure about this? I took his hand. Don't worry, I've thought it all through. A few days later, while relaxing in the living room, our intercom rang urgently. Opening the door, my brothers-in-law were visibly panicked. Why is this happening? We didn't know the house was going to be demolished. They waved a notice of demolition in their hands. Oh, that was planned, I calmly replied. They questioned in shock. Why? I explained. A new apartment building is set to be constructed there. To do so, the existing house must be demolished. They stared at me, stunned. I further revealed the high-end restaurant has received relocation offers due to its prime location. I kept it unchanged because of a 60th birthday celebration, but today marks a significant change for it. They exchanged anxious glances. Noticing their surprise, I felt a bit satisfied. Is the house really going to be demolished? Are you serious? Smiling, I continued, yes, I am. So, you might want to retrieve any valuables soon. Everything inside will be discarded. Hearing this, their eyes widened even more. Observing the heavy machinery outside, I added, considering how active the construction site is, work might start soon. So, if you have valuable items, it's safer to take them now. After a moment of silence, they started discussing hastily. Is this real? We gonna hurry? Watching their frantic departure, I turned to my husband. It seems they really didn't know, I remarked. My husband said with a warm smile, based on our previous experiences, I suppose my parents and I thought it would be good for them to get a little shock. But we might have inconvenienced the workers. It's true that I handed over the house keys to my brothers-in-law. I had properly informed both my husband and his parents about my intention and their plans to move into the new house. Of course, I also let them know that the house had been successfully purchased and the details of the handover date. It was up to them to decide if they will tell the brothers the truth or not. But it seems no one told them in the end. Don't worry about the workers. I've already discussed it with them, he assured me. I had a feeling this might happen, so I had already informed the contractor. I hope you regret it. We talked lightly and then went to sleep. The next day, I can't believe it's come to this. Summoned to my in-laws' house, we were confronted by my mother-in-law's mitterings and my downtrodden brothers-in-law. Even if the contractor didn't let you in, what were you thinking? Trying to sneak into the house in the middle of the night? Well, you see. Apparently, after being turned away by the contractor during the day, they tried to sneak into the house at night to get their valuable items. A neighbor found this suspicious and called the police. You not only failed to retrieve your belongings but also got stopped by the police, my husband said incredulously. But, well, while the brothers-in-law seemed eager to explain, their parents just sighed. You both should apologize. My husband calmly offered advice to them, who didn't seem inclined to apologize. However, the eldest brother retorted with a hint of anger, "What? But this is all because of Christina." And the second brother chimed in, "I thought you were kind, but I was deceived. I was wondering why you gave me the keys so easily, but doing this to the house is quite a shock." Facing their sudden complaints, all I could do was smile. Brothers, it seems there's a misunderstanding. Actually, both the land and the house were inherited by me. We had discussed this even before my marriage to Steve. I've always maintained that what's mine is mine, and we even signed a contract on it. So, it's not your place to intervene. Really? Wait, a contract? While the brothers-in-law looked shocked, I decided to explain calmly. Since my grandparents' time, there have been various considerations about what to do with the land, but they always wanted to keep it as it is. They did tell me, however, that I could sell it in the future, and I consulted a trusted contractor about this. So, it's none of your business. But we're family. Why do you think it's not our concern? Before answering, I delved deep into my memories. I started thinking seriously about marriage about 3 years ago. My dad raised me with great care on his own because my mom passed away shortly after giving birth to me. Dad and I were close, like best friends, and we spent many times together, camping in summer, ski trips in winter. But those happy days ended suddenly when my father unexpectedly fell ill and passed away. I was overwhelmed, filled with regret for not being able to do anything for him and the emptiness of the room where his presence once was. During that time, my husband stood by me, supporting me during my father's funeral and subsequent memorial services. When I couldn't move from the room I shared with my father, my husband would make me homemade soup and listen to my stories about my father all night. I really want to marry you. You've always been on my side, always thinking about me. If you have something you don't like about me, I'll fix it. I told him during my fifth proposal. Then he looked troubled and said, I want to marry you, but there are issues with my family. I don't want to burden you with them. I truly love you, Steve, and I don't care about any problematic family. I reassured him, and we decided to get married. I absolutely have no regrets. I wanted to fulfill my grandparents' wishes, and I am satisfied that I did so. But Steve's brothers were a different story. I can't believe how presumptuous your brothers are. I can't forgive them anymore. They will pay for everything they've done. I declared firmly. Taxi fares, expensive food bills, compensation for slapping me, the cost of our tea at the cafe, utilities for the house, the expenses from calling the police, and everything else. Steve added, and his brothers turned pale. What? Even for that? That's unbelievable. Then, an even bigger surprise awaited them. Their father announced, You're disowned. What? Please don't, Dad. Afterwards, the brothers were kicked out of their parents' house. Their problematic behavior became known even to distant relatives. Having lost their place, the brothers were abandoned by their girlfriends and families. Now, they seem to live quietly in a small apartment. Is this our new home? Can we really live here without any issues? In a luxurious high-rise condo, we became neighbors with Steve's parents. Of course, as a condition for relinquishing the land, we agreed to buy this floor in the building. I'm happy that we can live close like this. Parts of my grandparents' old house, like its pillars, were incorporated into our new home. We took new photos as a family. Let's display this photo alongside the old ones. The photo captured the happy faces of my family. From now on, I thought to myself, I'll cherish this